If there's one sport that seems to incur the wrath of its players, it's tennis. Playing one-on-one in anything can cause some tension, and in the highly competitive world of professional tennis, players can definitely boil over. That is why we're breaking down the top 10 tennis player meltdowns. But before we get into it, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content. Number 10. Karolina Pliskova. At her height, Pliskova was a world number 1 in singles who had dominated the Women's Tennis Association. Sadly, the Czech Republic-born pro is remembered just as much for an outburst at the Italian Open as she is for her aggressive play at the net. Back in 2018, Pliskova lost an extremely close match against Greece's Maria Sakkari. Pliskova's reign at the Italian Open will live long in the memory with tennis followers, mainly because of her extraordinary conduct towards the umpire's chair. With the game tied at 40-40 in a 5-5 third set, Pliskova scored what looked like an obvious point on an overhead smash that landed just inside the court. The broadcast score bug had already marked the point, scoring the game advantage Pliskova, before the line judge ruled the ball out to the dismay of the crowd. Chair umpire Marta Mrozinska asked for clarification from the line judge and explained to a pleading Pliskova that the line judge's ruling would stand since there was no mark on the clay to prove otherwise. Pliskova asked for a WTA supervisor who provided no help despite replay clearly showing that the ball was in. Pliskova went on to lose the game and eventually the match. At the end, Pliskova offered her hand before withdrawing it and smashing a hole in the umpire's chair with her racket. Number 9. Viktor Troicki. Not the most famous tennis tantrum of all time, but it certainly ranks as one of the longest, which is why it had to make our list. The Serbian complained for a good 5 minutes before accepting defeat. Ironically, his tantrum was also at the Italian Open and marks one of the most shocking moments in that tournament's history. It all went down in his second-round match against Ernest Gulbi. Troicki had dropped the first set 6-1 and was facing a break point in the first game of the second set when chair umpire Cedric Morier overruled a backhand by Troicki that lost him the game. That apparently was enough for him, who started yelling and screaming and pointing at Morier for the next 4 minutes. How bad did it get? Troicki eventually grabbed a cameraman and pulled him over to the spot that he thought the ball landed, instructing the man to do a close-up of what he thought was the end spot of his shot. Number 8. Anastasia Rodionova. Rodionova became only the second player on the WTA Tour to be disqualified, after aiming a tennis ball at a group of supporters who were cheering for Angelique Kerber. The incident left the chair umpire with no choice but to default her for unsportsmanlike conduct. At the time, the only other female player to be disqualified was Irina Spurley back in 1996 for swearing at an official. Number 7. Xavier Melisse. Stopping a match for a tennis tantrum is one thing. If it is halted because a 2-year-old unexpectedly took over the court, that is quite another. In Miami's 2005 Masters event, Xavier Melisse played the role of toddler, and the court became his crib. It seems he was unhappy with a line call and wanted to bring attention to the mark. That being said, things didn't go exactly the way he thought they would. Well, before the racket destruction and court kicking, the Belgian ponytailed player actually laid down upon the sideline and petulantly refused to play. Fortunately, the chair umpire took on the part of a good parent and simply ignored him long enough for Melisse to have to get up to receive more attention. For sheer unexpected immaturity, this one is still difficult to beat. But at his peak, Xavier was ranked number 19 in the world. Number 6. Marcos Baghdatis. Tennis tantrum is not a tennis tantrum if it only involves breaking one racket. And if there's one thing tennis players are good at, it's breaking records. That's why Marcos Baghdatis broke his racket 3 times in a row at the 2012 Australian Open. The entire scene is pretty hilarious. He doesn't even stop at the rackets close at hand. Baghdatis takes a long moment to rifle through his bags for some extras, and the final 2 don't even make it out of the wrapper. For all the pain and anger on Baghdatis' face, Cypriot looks absolutely pleasant during the entire meltdown. Now, aside from many of the meltdowns on our list, his actually draws some cheers from the crowd, especially when they see Cypriot enjoying. It makes one wonder what would have become of the Xavier Melisse incident had the fans taken his side rather than verbally berate him. Number 5. Goran Ivanisevic. Ivanisevic is a pretty accomplished tennis player with some amazing records. For instance, he is the only man to win the singles title at Wimbledon as a wild card. He achieved this in 2001 while being ranked 125th, having previously been runner-up at Wimbledon in 92, 94, and 98. But about a year before his achievement, Goran walked off a tennis court during the middle of a match, which made for one memorable tantrum. His self-imposed exile at the 2000 Samsung Open in Brighton, England qualifies then. He was squaring off against South Korea's Hyung Taek Lee, and definitely let the pressure get to him. The hard-hitting Croatian broke 3 rackets in his second-round tie against Lee, and at 3-1 down in the final set, was forced to abandon the match, though quote-unquote lack of appropriate equipment. Ivanisevic later told a news conference, "It's me, unique. What makes it special is the profound claim that took over," as he strolled up to the chair umpire, shook his hand, and continued on to the locker room. Number 4. Andy Roddick. Whether it's the electricity, the stage, or the desire to give the crowd a show, late nights at majors bring out some of the best tantrums. Andy Roddick's "Do You Have Ears?", a diatribe from a night session match at the 2008 Australian Open, is a perfect example of one that seemed to ratchet up because of the stage. Following a bad line call, Roddick went off for 2 minutes, punctuating his show with a classic message for the children: "Stay in school, kids, or you'll end up being an umpire." Number 3. Jimmy Connors. With all of New York on his side, the erasable 39-year-old Connors was at another make-or-break moment in his storybook run at the 1991 Open. Trailing by a set, the birthday boy hit an overhead that was called out by the chair, bringing a set point for Aaron Krickstein that could have given the youngster a 2-set lead. Knowing he had the full support of the crowd, Connors sat in on the chair umpire, delivering a bowling verbal beatdown intended to win points with an already rabid crowd. Connors won the next 3 points to even the match, went off again on the umpire later in the match when his back was against the wall, and of course beat Krickstein in a match that became a replay staple during the US Open rain delays for a quarter century. Number 2. Jeff Turango. When Turango made his mark on tennis history, he was a brash, unlikable journeyman American who had already had a bad reputation in the sport due to cheating in junior play and a bad attitude in the pros. After a disputed ace at Wimbledon in 1995, Turango returned to the service line, yelled "shut up" at fans, acted in disbelief when he was assessed a warning, proceeded to lambast the chair umpire, received another warning, and then in a hilarious moment of impotent self-destruction, walked off the court and quit, becoming the first player to do so in a major tournament. His wife Bernadette crashed Turango's fiery press conference to announce that she'd slapped the umpire twice because he deserved a lesson. Turango was banned from Wimbledon in 1996. Number 1. John McEnroe. Always known for his short fuse, McEnroe had developed a reputation as one of tennis's hotheads. There are a number of famous outbursts that helped put his name on the map, and it even built the tennis analyst careers that he's created since retiring from the game. Of course, it wasn't just his anger that made him the household name that we know today. During his career, McEnroe attained the world number 1 ranking in both singles and doubles, finishing his career with 77 singles and 78 doubles titles, which remains the highest men's combined total of the Open era. He won 7 Grand Slam singles titles, 4 at the US Open and 3 at Wimbledon, as well as 9 Grand Slam men's doubles titles, with 5 at Wimbledon and 4 at the US Open. He even had 1 Grand Slam mixed doubles title at the French Open. His singles match record of 82-3 in 1984 remains the best single-season win rate of the Open era. However, his rant on court at Wimbledon in 1981 is his standout tennis tantrum. Following his first-round match against Tom Gullickson, McEnroe was fined $1,500 and came close to being thrown out after he called umpire Ted James the pits of the world, and then swore at tournament referee Fred Hoyles. Of course, British fans will mostly recall McEnroe for blasting the chair umpire following a controversial line call in the phrase, "You cannot be serious," will live forever be associated with the 7-time Grand Slam winner. And that's all for now. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any new content. This has been our breakdown of the top tennis player meltdowns.